hope you're finding our YouTube channel useful. I've decided to do a little tutorial again for you KG1 parents out there to demonstrate how you can write with your child and some of the things that they need to remember when they're writing. So as you can see on my screen, I have split it into half. I have got my writing checklist above near where I am writing, so I can refer to that as I write. I also have my tricky words here, both phase 2 and phase 3, in case I need them. And I have my digraph and trigraph mats down by here to refer to when I'm writing, just so I can help remember the sounds and what they should look like. So the first thing your child needs to do when writing is decide what they want to write by saying their sentence first. So, for example, one of the tasks set this week, when I'm recording this, is to write about superheroes and favourite superheroes. So I'm going to use that just as an example here. To start with, then we've got to decide what our sentence is and get our child to say it. So we can ask, what would you like to write? And they might say, my favourite superhero is Batman. Then we are going to clap our sentence out. So my favourite superhero is Batman, okay? One clap per word. Even if it's long words, we are clapping words, not syllables, okay? Then we're going to ask them to put it on their fingers, so putting another finger up for every word that they say. So again, putting it on my fingers, my favourite superhero is Batman, full stop. And we're going to get them to say the full stop at the end as well, okay? Just to remind them when they're writing. Now we're going to refer to when they've got their fingers up when they have their fingers up, when they are saying their sentence and putting it on their fingers, we remind them of the gaps in between the fingers, so where the fingers meet together, and we put our fingers through there and refer to them as the finger spaces, okay? So it really helps when they're writing to have it on their fingers and to use their fingers word by word to write. So, again, I'm going to remind myself the sentence. My favourite superhero is Batman, full stop. My first word is my. Now, parents will need to help them out a little bit, especially if it's a phase 3 tricky word. For example, as a teacher, I know that my is a tricky word off the top of my head, but maybe just refresh yourselves and your memory with the tricky words after they've told you the sentence, okay? So again, I would go over to my tricky word mat and I would ask my child, okay, I think my is a tricky word. Can you find it on your mat? And they would go over to the paper one and find my. Now, because it is a tricky word, we would not expect them to sound it out. So all they need to do is simply copy it. However, because it is the beginning of my sentence and the first word of my sentence, I need to remind the child that it is a capital M at the beginning, just as it says on my checklist as well. So a capital letter always goes at the beginning and your child will copy that sentence down onto their line, remembering they're always writing on lines. Then you would expect them to remind them of the different things. So I've done my on my fingers. I then need to say, what's the next word? My favourite. Oh, wait, what's in between that? Oh, we've got those 2 words. We need a finger space. Put your finger space on. Favourite. Okay, let's segment and see what sounds we can listen to in favourite. So I would start favourite. The first sound I can hear is okay, now I'm going to spell this word as your child would spell it, okay? I would not expect a child to be able to spell favourite like that, because that means, they haven't found it out independently and that an adult has told them actually what to write. So as your teachers tell you all the time, do not worry about spelling and correcting them on spelling unless it's a word that they should know or should be able to segment. And in that case, we never correct them to have a go at segmenting again and support them with, rather than just telling them what it is. If it's a tricky word, then obviously we need to remind them that it is a word and it must be copied and spelled correctly, okay? So, favourite. If I'm segmenting favourite, I've got my the next sound I would hear is A. Now, I know that A is a sound that they have learnt and it's actually a digraph. So I would go over to the digraph mat and say, can you find that sound on the digraph mat? And if they can sound it out if they can find it independently straight away, then they can copy that directly onto their they can write that directly onto their page. If they need some adult support, then, we can have a little look. You might be able to give them a clue. Oh, I'm sure it's something to do with rain, because you can guess that by the picture. Okay, so, and then they can copy that down. So you can use the digraph mat to allow your child to copy the sounds off there to remind them, because obviously digraphs is still getting used to, and you know, which two letters make that sound. So favourite, I will continue to segment and blend. I can put the sounds on my fingers. I can use my robot arms, whichever your child finds easiest. And the next sound I hear is, I'm going to carry on as if I continue to segment and blend. Favourite, okay? Now, obviously, all the children are at different levels, and not all of them would be able to hear all of those sounds. So the next, I'll write superhero again. I would segment and blend with my child. Superhero would be an example. It might look like that, because obviously you can see the there, or super might be another one, depending on how they say it. Ear, you can see the trigraph there. And O looks a bit weird, and I know we would put an O on its own if we were doing O, but again, we're making sure we're using the sounds that they are familiar with and the spellings that they are familiar with. So in this case, it would be O, row your boat, as is on the digraph mat, okay? Now, all your children won't be able at the same level, and some of them might only be able to hear the first sound, the last sound, and the sound in the middle. All children by now should definitely be hearing their first sound, and hopefully, well, mostly the last sounds as well, and they should start hearing some sound in the middle. So for example, if I was writing the word hero, your child might only, you might need to help them with emphasizing on that. So if I was to say hero, they might only hear the ha at the beginning, hero, okay? And you can help emphasize that if needs be. Hero, row, if you need to, and do the O sound at the end. So again, using my digraph mat, that is how hero might look. It is tempting to correct. Please leave it as it is so your teachers can see where they're at and they can work on what their next steps would be. So for example, they might say the next step would be to hear the middle sounds, which could potentially look like that. As you can see, the H for he, the beginning sound, and they might only for the middle sound and the O at the last sound, okay? Is, for example, is a 2-letter word which can be segmented, so your child should be writing that, hearing both sounds in that. Batman, again, if you need to segment, if it's a big word, you can segment it into 2 little words, making sure we write it together, okay? So you might want to ask them, Batman, what sounds can you hear in bat? What sounds can you hear in man? But we need to remember it's one word. Using your checklist, go back through. Did you have a capital letter at the beginning? Are your ascenders nice and tall, taller than the other letters? And are your descenders sitting on the line and going down below the line? As you can see, the G and the dog on the checklist. Have you remembered finger spaces? Oh, I can see a problem with my sentence already. Have you remembered to include a full stop at the end? Nope, so I need to add it in. And can you read your sentence back through? So touching each word as they read. My favourite superhero is Batman, okay? I've just seen I wrote hero twice, but it's an example for you to see how the different spellings that you might get, okay? So I'm hoping that's really helpful. Again, that's just one sentence. You would expect another sentence to be written, so they could write, he is strong, and again, you'd use a tricky word mat, and so on, like we've just looked at, okay? Tricky word mat, digraph mat, writing checklist. It is a long video. It does take a lot of time. That would be pretty much how much time it would take to go through writing with your children just for the one sentence, and then add a bit of extra time on them for the children to write it, and obviously correcting letter formation. But we're seeing vast improvements already in writing, so it's really important that you try and get all those skills in and you keep on pushing and keep up with the good work to get some good results, okay? Well done to everyone. Thank you for watching. I know it's a long one and I hope it's helpful. Bye.